myfantasysportstalk.com.
Hey everyone, Brandon Reed here again with myfantasysportstalk.com, bringing you a brand new segment to My Fantasy Sports Talk this week called Pick 6. In this weekly segment, we're going to bring you 6 players we think could be hot picks off the waiver wire, so you should get out there and grab them while you still can. Number 1 on my list is the obvious this week, Terrence Williams, wide receiver, Dallas Cowboys. Run out there and grab him right now because Dez is out most likely the first half of the season, and he is owned in 79% of ESPN standard leagues right now. It's up 35% in the last week, so time is running out to grab him. He has big play potential and is going to get a lot more looks his way the first half of the season, of course, with Dez being out. Another guy, number 2 on my list this week, is Chris Johnson, running back, Arizona Cardinals. Chris is currently owned in 54% of ESPN standard leagues, up 44%, and a lot of that has to do with Andre Ellington being ruled out for Sunday's game in Chicago. So Chris Johnson still has the big play potential. Doesn't take but 1 or 2 plays, and you can have a nice fantasy day out of him. He had 10 carries last week, so a pretty good warm-up, and playing a suspect Bears defense this week. So big play capability there, of course, for Chris Johnson. Now, moving on, one guy I picked up in one of my leagues is Austin Seferian-Jenkins, tight end, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Had a huge game against Tennessee last week. I look for more of the same basically throughout the season. He is a big 6'6" target for Jameis Winston, who is going to need a big target to look at as he kind of tries to find his way in the NFL. So Seferian-Jenkins was basically the one bright spot for Tampa Bay last week for the struggling team. So a struggling team with a rookie quarterback playing a struggling defense in New Orleans, I would go with Austin Seferian-Jenkins. 56% in standard league, ESPN standard leagues right now. That's up 32%. So he made quite a mark last week on fantasy players. Run out there and grab him as I did. Next on the list, I have Tavon Austin. A lot of people probably forgot about Tavon Austin, wide receiver out of St. Louis. Only owned in 12% of leagues right now. Still a lot of opportunity to get there. I think a lot of people have given up on him like I did probably last year. But here's the thing about Tavon Austin. He can do it all. He's listed as a wide receiver. He'll get 3 to 5 carries a game, and he also returns kicks, returned a punt last week. So always that big play capability there out of Tavon Austin. 5th on my list this week is Joe Flacco, quarterback, Baltimore Ravens. I know what you're saying. He had 1 point last week, 1 fantasy point last week. But here's the deal, folks. He's owned in 44% of the leagues. Good opportunity to get out there and get him off the waiver wire. Here's the thing, he's playing Oakland this week. Very generous defense, and the Ravens camp has basically already come out and said that they want to throw a lot in this game and test that Oakland secondary. And we know Joe can have big games, so this is one of those ones I think he can put up 40 fantasy points against the Oakland Raiders. So I think he could have a big week this week. And still, again, a lot of opportunity to get out there as he's only owned in 41% in ESPN standard leagues. Lastly on my list is the Tennessee Titans defense. They are owned only 23% in ESPN standard leagues, so not too many people with a lot of faith in them, and they pretty much shut down Tampa Bay. And here's the thing about Tennessee this week. They are playing the Cleveland Browns, a turnover-prone Cleveland Browns, and one last thought about the Tennessee defense is Dick LeBeau. I trust him. So he's going to turn around this defense. I don't think last week was a fluke against Tampa Bay. I think Tennessee's really going to eat up some of these poor teams that don't really know what they're doing yet, especially up in this early season. Cleveland falls under that category. So, and lastly, if you need a kicker, just go get a kicker. This is Brandon Reed, myfantasysportstalk.com. Visit our website, visit our YouTube page, and like us on Facebook.
myfantasysportstalk.com.